Shea, an Iowa mom, and we're going to keep it simple today, learning how to cook a simple breakfast. I'm going to be using a cast iron skillet. You can use any kind of frying pan. We happen to have a gas stove, so I'm lighting that. If you have an electric stove, you're going to want to put it on a medium setting. And then you don't want to put eggs in the frying pan right away without letting it heat up. Otherwise the eggs tend to, well, they just don't cook well. They end up sticking to the bottom and they get kind of mushy. Okay, you take the egg, and when you crack it on the edge of the bowl, you're going to get a little separation there. And if it doesn't separate enough, just hit it enough that you can actually get your finger in there and pull it apart. Now, if you happen to get eggshells, one thing is you don't want to reach like I'm doing here, but if you get some eggshells in there, can you see where there's some little tiny white things there? Okay, now this membrane here is fine. That's part of the egg, that little white milky looking stuff. But you don't want that real sharp, crunchy stuff in there. You take the eggshell that you broke the egg with and just dish it out. I'm just showing you again here with this, the white stuff that's in here. That's okay. That's part of the egg, part of the membrane. And you see this out here, this clear liquid is what's called the white of the egg. It will turn white when it fries, but until it fries, it's going to be clear. One tip is, when you're cooking, you don't want to have the egg have any clear of it left. That means it's not cooked yet. Okay, we're going to make a scrambled egg. Let's say that, you know, when you're cracking the egg, you get a little aggressive and that membrane breaks. Well, you could just put it in the pan like that. It wouldn't hurt anything. But another way you can do it is put a little bit of milk in here. And I'm putting in just, I suppose it's about a tablespoon. You don't need to measure that. But just a little bit to moisten it up. And I'm using a fork to just scramble that egg. And you whip around like that. And what's happening is we're getting some air in there. There, I think that's a pretty good angle. And as you mix that, you could use a little whisk if you have one, but a fork works fine. And that's going to get the egg into the milk and the milk into the egg and combine the two. And then what that's going to do, the whipping it, is going to make it light and fluffy. Something when you're in the grocery store and you're looking at eggs, move these aside. You probably notice people in there looking inside the carton, and you look inside and make sure that the eggs themselves are not broken. If you have any cracks in them, don't buy those because they've been contaminated. So when you're buying eggs, always look inside and make sure that they're not cracked, and then store them in the refrigerator to keep them safe. Another way you can crack the egg is you can actually crack it right into the counter, but what happens then is you end up having a mess to clean up. So I'm going to put this bowl down here again, and we're going to be using a bowl and just hit it on the bottom like that, and you can see where it cracks all over the place. So you can get in there where it's most open, and it seems like a lot of times I don't have as much with eggshells with that method. Okay, now we're at the frying pan. You don't want to get it too terribly hot, otherwise it will cook, kind of drastically make a little crispy on the egg. We're going to be using a little olive oil, and I get the just regular olive oil, and the reason why I use olive oil is because it is really good for you, and it also gives a little kind of a buttery taste. I only use the regular olive oil. I do not get the extra virgin because that has kind of a little different flavor to it, unless you like that. And because the pan is hot, that oil is starting to spread, and it is starting to smoke a little bit, which we really don't want it to smoke. So I'm going to turn down the heat. Okay, I'm going to put in my egg here. And you can see where the white, it starts to coagulate. I'm going to add another one over here. And one reason to crack an egg into a bowl is because you can control the egg shells if you have any issues like that. Once you get used to doing it all the time, you probably don't need to do that. But I think it's a good idea to do it into a bowl just to make sure everything's covered. We're going to salt it and pepper it while it's cooking. And without salt and pepper, it will taste a little blah. Okay, now this one, the pan is a little hotter than it should have been probably. So that just shows too that the ordinary way of living is sometimes it isn't perfect. We're going to scoop underneath it just a little bit like that. When you see that it's getting white, that everything's coagulating, but you notice how this is still kind of got a clear substance up here. We're going to scoop underneath that. I just thrust the spatula under there kind of quick, and that way it kind of, you kind of pick at it instead of trying to do it all at once. Now I can get this one. Now we can keep this one sunny side up if you want to, but if you're doing that, you're going to want to cover it with a lid. So you can put a lid on it, and that's going to keep the heat in there. Is going to heat all the way around it. And rather than have any kind of white left, we could just go ahead and flip that for a quick. Now I'm going to get this out of the pan. And I do like having a little bit of the crispy on it. Now at this point you can break that yolk very easily, which I did. Like I said, this is not gourmet cooking. This is just every day, this is what people do in order to cook an egg. And you don't need to feel threatened by the fact that, hey, it's not always going to look that great. It's okay. If we're going to make the scrambled eggs, I'll just show you that. I'm going to add a little bit more olive oil in there. And of course the pan's already pretty hot. Ready. And then we just pour the egg in there. You can use the same method to make omelet. If you want it scrambled, then you just simply scramble as you go. You can use your fork to do that too. But you don't want to cook it very long. As soon as it starts to get harden up, it's going to start to dry out. So right now, looks like it's the time. I'm going to turn that heat off. About the time for that to be done. So let's scoop up, put it on the plate. Even. There we go. Now we have our complete breakfast. I've toasted an English muffin. You can use regular toast, or you can just have the egg. And that's the one with 2 eggs that are over easy. And then the one that we made scrambled, I also added toast to that. I like a cup of coffee, but you can use juice or milk or something else to drink with it. If you want to keep it high protein and not very much for carbs, just have the eggs. Eggs are a great way to get a good wholesome breakfast without much expense. And so I would encourage you to try either frying an egg or scrambling an egg. I'm an Iowa mom, just keeping it simple. This is Lena Shea. Thanks for watching.